Most newspapers in our collection were printed on inexpensive groundwood pulp paper that was easily folded for comfortable reading and convenient carrying. The ephemeral nature of news itself meant that few readers wanted to save their newspapers and typically discarded each issue when finished reading it. Newspaper publishers, in turn, printed their newspapers on groundwood pulp, which made it possible to sell those newspapers at a lower cost. This cheap paper, however, was never intended to last long. Consequently, the few newspaper issues that were saved have, over time, become fragile and can no longer be used as originally intended. They are difficult to use because they are so easily damaged, even when we handle them with care. Therefore, you will need to follow a few special procedures to help extend the usable life of these fragile newspapers. There are three main reasons why these newspapers are difficult to use without damaging them. First, most of the newspapers in our collection are brittle, and many are extremely brittle and often tear or flake apart when handled. The second reason newspapers are difficult to use is that they tend to be very large. These large page sizes make it difficult to turn a page without damaging the paper. The third reason newspapers are difficult to use is that many newspapers have been folded 2 or 3 times and then stored that way for many years. Over time, the sheet will begin to split along the folds. Therefore, instead of holding the paper in your hands, you must only touch the newspaper when you are ready to turn a page. Let's go over a few basic principles that apply to handling all print newspapers, whether they are tabloid, broadsheet, bound, or unbound. First, wash your hands. Then, remove loose clothing or jewelry. Also, only use pencils, no pens. And finally, do not rush. Your newspaper will probably be one of the following 3 formats: a bound tabloid, a bound broadsheet, or an unbound broadsheet. For bound items, staff will arrange the bound volume in a book cradle. If you think the volume needs to be repositioned, please ask a staff member for help. You can use clean, dry hands or a provided microspatula to lift the page. Allow the page to fall loosely on the opposite side. For bound broadsheets, turn the pages by holding the top and bottom. Use a microspatula if necessary. Large format newspapers might require 2 people to turn a page. Staff will let you know if your newspaper requires extra assistance. Do not flatten out the pages, as bowing helps to minimize stress on the hinge. If you cannot read the page, reduce the bowing until you are able to read the full page. Use book snakes in order to keep the page in place. For unbound items, please keep the item flat on the table so that it is fully supported. Always use a board or rigid support when lifting or moving. Place the board underneath by lifting one corner of the print and sliding the support board underneath. If this cannot be done safely, lay the board down next to the item and pick the print up by 2 opposite corners to move it onto the board. Ask a staff member for help to turn a fragile page to the other side. A librarian or staff member will assist you in using the newspaper and help you identify the format you are working on.